Thanks all for coming. My name's Simeon Kleinsasser, and I'm with Hiwassee Products. We manufacture equipment to help make the use of compost and extracts available at scale on your farms. So this presentation is mostly going to go into why bother composting and extracting it, and then we'll do some live microscopy at the end. Up here you see is our mobile lab kit, so you can actually test what you're doing in the soil and look at it and see if you're making a difference and see if the practices you're implementing are making a difference. So a little bit about myself. I grew up in England, got into gardening very early on, and got into composting throughout my grade school and high school years, and made a bunch of different products to try to harness the compost's ability to produce heat, and then got into the whole microbial side of compost and use it as an inoculant for your soil, not just as a nutritional benefit to the soil, but actually a biological inoculant. And then the reason we go into caring about microbes is because of regenerative agriculture. So the 6 main principles of regenerative agriculture are understanding your context, minimize soil disturbance, maximize crop diversity, keeping the soil covered, maintaining a living root. We'll get into more about why we care about that, and then integrating livestock. The key to here is understand your context. Not everything that works here in Wisconsin will work in California or Tennessee. We all have different environments. We all have different end goals of what we want our farm to do. And we all have different budgetary restraints. So you have to take what gets said and then apply it into your context of your farm. The soil food web is the key to making all these things that we heard about this morning grow. So the interaction between the plant, the soil, and the microbes is what actually boosts plant growth and allows you to take your mineral nutrients and put them into the plant. So we'll get more into that about all the different parts of the soil food web. Another reason to care, everyone's been talking about carbon. There's a lot of it in the atmosphere, but there's a heck of a lot more of it in the soil. And the more we till and the more we take away from the soil, we put it into the atmosphere, and that's what's causing some of the problems in the climate that we have today. But we have the ability to put that back into the soil using sustainable and regenerative ag practices. So this is from a couple of years ago. 4 tons of topsoil per acre are considered to be lost each year on tilled ground. So that's why we have to manage how we do things. And the tillage events, this was from last year, 2023, is causing problems. The dust getting blown off the fields has caused a big accident on I-55. So it is not just your farm that's getting destroyed, it's the whole environment, and also other people are getting affected by what you do on the land. Dr. James White has done some amazing research on the rhizophagy cycle and exactly how plants interact with the soil. He's found that the plants are actually eating microbes from the soil, stripping them of their nutrients, and then putting them back out to get those nutrients again. And then it's a cycle called the rhizophagy cycle. And that's all done with a microscope. So you have to know what you're looking for, but it's all tools that we have available to us. So just looking a little bit more in depth here, you basically have the root, which has, you have your meristem growing tip, and then you have the side shoots that come off that main root, and that's what actually suck in the nutrients, and then they get exposed to superoxates, and that just strips them of the nutrients that the plant wants, and then they get sent back out to recolonize the soil, and that's what the plant is giving into this energy cycle, all those exudates that are sending down into the soils to feed these microbes. That's why 40% of the exudates the plant produces goes into the soil, not into the plant itself. But this cycle gets bypassed if you apply fertilizers. So if you're applying synthetic fertilizers, you're bypassing the cycle because it's less energy effective for the plant, right? If you didn't have to run a mile to go get your groceries, you wouldn't, right? Plants are lazy just like we're lazy. If we can get in a car and drive, or if we can get it right there, we're not going to go choose the one farther away. The plant won't either. So if we remove the synthetic inputs slowly over your transformation, then the plants will slowly regain this process, and then you can have the nutrients taken from your soil and not wait for them to be brought to them using synthetic fertilizers. But basically, you have the microbes come in the bottom of the root. They get extracted in that cycle right here, in the A, and then they get pushed out the root stems. And that also fuels root growth. So if you didn't have these microbes cycling, it would only be one taproot going down to look for nutrients. But because these microbes are in the actual root, they're getting pushed out these side roots, and that's creating a much bigger web or rhizome sheath around that plant, which can support the plant in like a wind event. It won't just blow over and pull out of the ground because it has a much bigger root mass. So these are some pictures using different stains under the microscope, and what you see highlighted are the actual bacteria within the root itself. And then that picture number 2, you see the blue dye there. That's the microbes getting pushed out of the root. And in a couple of slides, I have a video of that actually happening. So basically, the plants absorb the microbes, they increase their nutrient content, and then they push them back out. And that's the whole rhizophagy cycle that's going on. Like, you get plant diversity, each plant will do better in a certain environment because they have certain microbes that associate with them. So in any given year, if you have plant diversity, one plant is guaranteed to do well in that environment versus waiting and only having a monoculture. It might not be a good year for soybeans to grow, right? So you want to have other plants that can feed those microbes so that you get the nutrients you need. So here's a video of the microbes getting pushed out of the root end tip. And then this, if you can see, that's a video within you can see the movement within the actual root itself. And then you can see the clouds coming out the tip. That's the process happening. Certain bacteria bring certain nutrients to the plant. So they're actually doing more testing where they're seeing, does the plant actually put out signals to attract those organisms that the nutrient they're deficient in. So let's say you're deficient in boron, does it put out a signal like a certain food resource that the high boron microbes come to the plant to then get consumed by the plant and get sent back out. But basically, the point I'm trying to make is that microbes and plants interact, and that's how the nutrients become available. So that links into your compost. A lot of people view compost just as nutritional, a base nutritional to put out onto the soil. But if you can get your microbes into the compost and make it higher microbial population, then you don't have to view it as a nutrient, you can view it as a biological inoculant.